All right, everybody, welcome. Can you hear me okay? We are so glad you're here. I hope that you are enjoying your pizza. I hope you had a chance. We have some really cool tables out in the main area, out in the foyer, I guess you would call it. And so please be sure when we're done, they will still be there for a little while, so you can go and check. You've seen the list of the universities. We have a table from our library and the TCC QEP program. So be sure and check that out. You can get lots of questions answered that way. And then I want to make a quick announcement because you guys are so good to be here and to come experience some of the extra opportunities that are available on campus. So I want to make sure you know about another opportunity coming up. In celebration of Earth Day, we are going to have events on campus Wednesday, April 22nd, Thursday the 23rd, Friday the 24th, and Saturday the 25th. So they're a little bit small, but I think your phones will work. There are QR codes to sign up for a couple of options. One is we have an Earth Day photo contest, but that you have to, it's due by April 13th, I think. Yeah. It has to be submitted by April 13th. So if you want to take a photo and enter that in the photo contest, you can scan that QR code there to get the information about it. On April 22nd, they're going to have events from 10 to 1 on the outdoor learning stairs. Have you seen those new outside of NW03? So there will be an event there. On Friday the 24th is disc golf. If you haven't noticed it, we have disc golf. We have a disc golf course on the lakeside of campus, and so you could participate in that. All levels are welcome. There's a QR code you can scan to register, but if you forget to register, we'll let you come anyway? Yeah, we will let you come anyway. But register so we know to expect you. And then finally on Saturday, there's a 5K run I assume it's on the trail around the lake. So lots of opportunities. Go ahead, take your take your phone out and sign up for one of them right now, right? Go ahead, do it. Sign up, commit, and if I were you, I'd sign up for the disc golf. That's the easiest. Anyway, seriously, we have a lot of neat opportunities, so keep your eyes open and do that. All right, did everybody that wanted to register, you good? Okay. And so now I want to introduce Tiffany. She's going to actually introduce our speaker, Ray.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. It's my pleasure to introduce our guest speaker, Ray Casas. He is the Senior Director of Community Impact for our Texas Rangers, our 2023 World Series champions. Ray is a public and government relations professional with more than 25 years of experience working with major corporations and nonprofit organizations across the country and the world. He began his career at the University of Texas at Arlington, helping students get into college. So if anyone here is still waiting for an acceptance letter, now might be a good time to ask. From there, Ray went to Washington, D.C., working with organizations like the Hispanic Heritage Foundation and the Congressional Hispanic Caucus Institute, before moving into media with MTV and later Viacom, which is now Paramount, where he served as a leading voice on policy and public affairs, even acting as a liaison between the entertainment industry and the White House. In 2014, he was named one of Huffington Post's 40 Under 40 Latinos in American politics, proving that his impact has been recognized at the highest of levels. Outside work, Ray is deeply involved in philanthropy and serves as a media advisor to organizations including Bring Change to Mind, a mental health nonprofit founded by award-winning actress Glenn Close, because apparently his free time needed to be just as impressive as his career. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to Ray Casas.
Thank you very much.
Real quick, before I have a special treat for you, Ray asked, he said he wanted this to be kind of like a fireside chat. And so, oh, I thought I did, but I hit the wrong button. Just a minute. Control tab? Huh. Alt. Technical, there we go.
That feels nice and cozy, I think, right? Yeah, that's nice.
Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Well, first of all, I'm Tony Swan, kinesiology professor, up here with my colleagues. This is Pat Tart and Joseph Maestas. So first question, growing up as a little boy, did you always want to be a part of the game of baseball?
No, I loved playing baseball, but I never saw myself working in Major League Baseball. That was a total surprise. But I loved playing the game as a kid, and I was very good. I ended up going to UTA to play baseball, but you know, I didn't know there was a career in baseball. I think like a lot of us when we go to games, especially when you're a kid, you see the hot dog vendors, you see the people that sell popcorn, and then you see the players. But you don't ever understand that there's actually, you know, lawyers and graphic designers and, you know, people that work in human resources, and, you know, we have dietitians that tell Corey Seager what to eat and what not to eat. We have trainers. We have, you know, trainers that have studied kinesiology. So I didn't know that there was this opportunity for me, but I loved the game.
Thank you. And next, you've moved around a lot in your career. Are you happy to be back in Texas?
I'm going to say yes for the Texans that are in this room. It's, you know, I was born in San Antonio. I grew up in Fort Worth, you know, not too far from here. What brought me back was my family. I was gone for about 17 years. I lived in Washington, D.C. for 10 years. I lived in New York City for 4, and then I lived in Los Angeles for 3. And I moved here from L.A. in 2018. And unfortunately, my stepdad got sick, and I came to help my mom take care of him. And at the time, I had a small PR company in Los Angeles and in West Hollywood. And you know, I ultimately sold it so I could come back and take care of my stepdad. He passed 18 months later, but the Rangers found me on LinkedIn and said, "Hey, would you like an opportunity to work in our front office?" And that's kind of how it happened.
Could you inform the crowd tonight where you went to college and why you chose that college and how you decided your major?
Yeah, when I was in high school, I went to a ton of baseball camps, you know, and the hope was to one day play college baseball. And the very first camp I went to was at TCU. That was a beautiful campus, and the coaches were great. And then I met the coaches at UT Arlington, and there was part of me that wanted to, you know, move away, actually leave Tarrant County. But then I realized that there were some great opportunities at UTA that I had no idea. Once I made my official visit, I got to meet with some amazing professors and got to meet with the athletic department. And so it was just like, it felt like a great match. The other 2 schools that I was looking at was Pepperdine, which is in Malibu, California. And then I was looking at the University of Texas at Austin. But UTA was a great fit for me. And that's kind of how it happened. Now, I didn't know my major until I got to UTA, until I got there. So, but I was just looking for a great campus that felt good. Because ultimately, you know, I could have picked UTA for a different reason, a different major, and then I could have changed the major in 1 or 2 semesters. So I think that was really the key, was going somewhere that I felt like I was going to be successful.
Well, Ray, first of all, I want to tell you, we appreciate you coming and spending your time here with us. And you said you were born in San Antonio. Go Spurs. You know. All right.
Go Mavs.
Spurs. You already answered my first question, but the second one is, what were some of the things that you learned in college that's been most beneficial in your career so far?
Yeah, I think the fact that I learned not to panic, that I didn't figure things out until my junior year at UTA. You know, pretty much when you have to, you know, pick a degree, pick a program. I learned that, you know, to give myself some grace. I was very hard on myself as an athlete. I was very hard on myself as a student. And then I just sort of like, I know this is going to sound a little cliche, but I kind of left everything up to God. And I just said, hey, you know, whatever you want me to do, I'm listening. You know, I'm waiting for a sign. And I think that made my journey a lot easier to just accept success and accept failure. Because, you know, I tell people every day that I fail every day. You know, I make mistakes, and then I do really good stuff, but I think learning to give myself grace when I was in college was very helpful.
You sort of answered the next question, but because you've had that diverse career that you've had, and from, you know, higher ed to on Capitol Hill to media to sports. So I was going to ask you, you know, how you decided when it was time to change. A little bit, you sort of answered that, but I wanted to change that question. And which one of your careers have you enjoyed the most?
I've enjoyed every stop that I've made, you know, whether it's been in television or in politics. I certainly wouldn't want to be in politics today. It was a very different time. It was a very different time when I worked in politics. I was just mentioning earlier that I worked in politics from 2006 to 2016. So that was a very different time then. But I've loved every different industry that I've worked in, and I've had to learn it because when I was asked to work at MTV, I had never worked in television. I had basically watched Jersey Shore and 16 and Pregnant. That was about the scope of, and by the way, guys, we all know that's trash TV, right? But you know, I didn't have any experience when it came to understanding ratings and how the business worked. I'll never forget, you know, when I moved to New York and I just accepted the role at MTV, I was there 2 weeks in New York when they had the first round of layoffs that I had been there, and I thought, I haven't even unpacked my boxes yet. And here they're about, like, we're literally, you know, we're walking through Times Square. Our office building it's 1515 Broadway, which is on the corner of Broadway and 45th. And we're going up the longest escalator, you know, to the lobby, and I see people coming down the escalator with boxes of their photos, and they're crying because they just got laid off, you know. So that was a really scary time, you know, kind of giving up everything and moving to New York and then understanding the television world. But that's just the nature of the beast, you know, like you live and die by your ratings when you work in television, and that was a scary time, but it was probably one of the most exciting times working in television because it was just, you worked 14-hour days and you didn't even mind it because you were just constantly on the go. So it was fun.
I'd also like to thank you for coming. We really appreciate you taking time out of your day to come and share your wisdom. Now, you mentioned failing every day, and one thing that I think I'm big on, especially with my students, is that, you know, it's through the failures that we have successes, and there's no shortage of examples of that. Was there one particular failure or challenge that you had that maybe shaped your career?
Well, I mean, there's so many that I don't even know how to pick. I mean, I remember every time I would leave a job, I would wonder and ask myself, am I doing the right thing? And I'm sure we're all our worst critics. We all second guess ourselves, whether we take an exam or we think we know a major that we want to go into, but we're not 100% sure. We're like 90% sure, or maybe not even 90% sure. We're 70% sure that we're going to go this direction. I think that learning your passions and what you like and what you don't like is an ongoing thing. I'm 51, and I'm still trying to figure out if this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. So all the careers that you see that I've done, I look back and I think, well, did I do the right thing? Was this the right path? So, there's a lot of second guessing with success, and there's a lot of second guessing with failure. But I can't think of one moment that I've said, I really messed up. I mess up consistently, so that's okay. You just have to understand that, life, especially baseball, it's about, you can go 0 for 4 one night, and then you can go 3 for 4 and be the hero. So you just have to keep going.
Yes, baseball is a great example because the best hitters only get on 30% of the time. So, baseball is a good analogy. Was there a particular moment in time when you sat down and realized and thought to yourself, "Wow, I can't believe I'm here, this job, doing this job or that job"? Is there a moment in time, sort of a pinch me moment?
Yeah, this morning. I would have, before yesterday, I would have said Game 5 of the World Series in Phoenix when I'm joining our guys on the field and we're lifting the trophy. That was a pinch me moment because as a Rangers fan, we didn't know we'd ever get there. So it was I think it was a surprise to all of us. That we were able to make it all the way and then finally seal the deal and win it. So Game 5, Phoenix, Arizona, bringing the trophy home, that was a pinch me moment. But in all seriousness, this morning was a pinch me moment because for the last 3 years, we've been designing our City Connect jersey that we just welcome to the world like a baby to our fans. I'm wearing our new logo, Tejas, that for the last 3 years, since we won the World Series, we've been meeting with Nike for the last, every other month. And I got to be honest with you, I didn't know that creating a jersey would take 3 years. I think our fans and a lot of people think like, we drew up a design on the back of a napkin, and we said, okay, we're gonna go to print. But this is a special jersey because like all of our jerseys, there's a story that goes with it. But there's so many intricacies that goes into producing a jersey. And when, I've been looking at this design since 2023. We've been changing the design since 2023. Nike has told us a bunch of expletives since 2023. We've been going back and forth with licensing agreements, with our graphic artists, with different groups that we've run this design by. And for those of you that are artists, I don't know if there are any artists in here or people that have created something with their hands, to see something that we've been working on for the last 3 years. Now, this design being worn by our fans, that is like pinch me moment. Because I never dreamed that I would be a part of something that our fans would wear, And there's only a select few people that worked on this committee that, and then worked with Nike to make this happen. So it's a pinch me moment definitely this morning when we opened up our team store and our fans had been waiting overnight to get this. I didn't sleep last night, okay? So if I have bags under my eyes, and this has been a really bad month for me because I almost chopped off my fingers in a yard accident, and I found out today I'm not gonna have to have reconstructive surgery, so that's great news. But it's been a rough month, so I'm just glad that we're here and glad that the jersey is now for the public.
I'm done with my questions for now.
So the next question had to do with what you were most proud of doing as a part of the Texas Rangers, and it sounds like you may have answered that, unless you want to elaborate on something else.
Yeah. So going back to not knowing what kind of job opportunities are in Major League Baseball, when I first joined the ball club in 2018, I learned so much about all the different departments and all the different people. We have 450 people that work for the Rangers. A lot of people may not know that, but I wanted to create an opportunity for juniors and seniors in college to understand what that's like to work in Major League Baseball. So right at the beginning of COVID, I had reached out to, I don't know, raise your hand if you know who Charlie Pride is. Okay. Some of the older people in the room know who Charlie Pride is. No offense. But Charlie was somebody that I got to know when I joined the ball club. And I had heard about him. I had heard that he was a country singer, but he was really more known for being a minority owner of the Rangers. And he had become so successful in his music career that he was asked to buy a small portion of the ball club. So when I joined in 2018, we had lots of great conversations. I would get a chance to have dinner with him and his wife Rosine, and I had asked Charlie. I said, look, he would tell me his story. He would tell me a story about how when he was younger he played in the Negro Leagues, and a lot of people don't know that he had a really good career in baseball, but he didn't play Major League Baseball. He played in the Negro Leagues. And his dream was to play Major League Baseball. That was his dream. Ultimately, he became one of the highest-selling country artists in the world. A lot of people may not know that. But because of his success, he did something that was greater than playing in Major League Baseball. He got to own part of the Rangers, which is that's rare. That's incredibly rare. So long story short, when I said, hey, Charlie, I have this idea. I want to reach young people and give them an opportunity to work for the Rangers, and I said I want to name this program after you. Would you be okay with it? And he said I'd be honored. And then 6 weeks later he passed away. He passed away of COVID. So that was a really proud moment for me because it was a program that was approved by our ownership group, and this year we'll have our 5th class of fellows. We'll have a brand new class of interns that will start, and they will work for the Rangers for 10 weeks. And this program is special because they get to rotate within 3 departments. So you would pick 3 departments. You could pick marketing, baseball operations, and human resources. And you would work 3 weeks in each rotation. And then after those 3 weeks, you'd rotate to the next department, and then the next. And then so it's a pretty fast-moving program, but it gives you a small taste of what it's like to work in those departments. And some of it's really cool because some of the interns actually get to work in what we call the war room during the draft when the draft happens in July. So they get real practical experience. And so when I leave the Rangers one day, that's going to be my legacy is the Charlie Pride Fellowship Program. So I'm pretty proud of that.
Definitely something to be proud of, for sure. And a great opportunity for students. So now that you're in Major League Baseball, what are some things that most surprised you about the business side?
Well, I think I'll give you one example. As a fan, when you go inside Globe Life Field, you're so fixated on hot dogs, maybe a beer, nachos, popcorn. I'm mentioning a lot of food, so I'm hungry. So sorry. But what a lot of people don't realize is that if you're watching the outfield, if you're looking at the outfield, and let's pretend you're not even looking at the players, but you're looking at the logos in the outfield. You've got Golden Chick, you've got Lexus, you've got Whataburger, all our corporate sponsors that spend 6 figures to put their logo out there, a lot of money. And that's really how we're able to pay our players, is by these corporate sponsorships. But these logos aren't just slapped on our outfield walls. They're not just slapped on the upper concourse. There's a method to the reasoning of why we put the logos where we do. And there's a metrics part of, if for instance, when you're watching our broadcast on Ranger Sports Network, there are times that we show more places in the ballpark than usual on average, whether it's because a ball that's hit in the left field or a home run that's hit into center field. Most people don't realize that when they see these home runs or they see these hits, that what's getting attention. Can anybody tell me what's getting attention when that's happening? The ads, exactly, the ads. So that's why sponsors, we place those logos in those high trafficked areas on where you see the action. And do you think those logos are more expensive, those placements? So yeah, as a fan, I never thought about that. I don't know if you guys ever thought about that. I never thought about that. So learning about the business of business partnerships and us being able to place these ads and tell them, okay, so if we place your ad in center field for the season, that's gonna be $700,000. You know, if we place your ad on the pitcher's mound, if you guys have ever seen our logo on the pitcher's mound, that's a lot of money, guys. We don't give that space up for free. Energy Transfer is our logo that goes on our jersey. That's $1 million placement to have your logo on our jersey. So that was the most surprising part about the business side, because I had no idea. When you're a fan, you go to the game, and you don't think about those things. Maybe some of you do. You just think about if the Rangers are going to win or if they're going to lose. You know, so that was a really cool first lesson on the business side.
Something that I'm really curious about, do the Rangers work with or have a sports psychologist on staff?
We do. So baseball's kind of funny sometimes in that players have their own therapists that they've worked with, you know, for years, and we allow that. You know, we want our players to be successful when they get into the batter's box. So if having their own sports psychologist, if they have their own, then that's totally fine. We have a team psychologist that travels with the players and will, you know, we don't press, you know, if our player wants to talk, we've got help. We have assistance. But certainly that's a big part of the game.
So just as a follow-up, what are the credentials that this person has to have in order to work for the Rangers?
Well, I mean, when you talk about sports psychology, I mean, you have to have obviously advanced degrees. A lot of them get a master's degree in counseling. Some of them have a PhD. So it just kind of really depends on what kind of therapist. And every team is different, by the way. It's not the same across the 30 Major League Baseball teams. So it really just kind of depends on the needs and what players are comfortable with.
Another follow-up. I think there's a misconception with sports psychologists in terms of, you know, sprinkle a little bit of dust and then the performance enhancement, it happens and stuff like that. So I was just curious if you could talk a little bit about, if you know, some of the different job responsibilities that a sports psychologist would have in working with a professional franchise.
When it comes to a sports psychologist working with, let's say, a football team or a baseball team, any kind of sports team, a lot of times they're on call, okay? But what will happen is a lot of these psychologists will watch the mannerisms of the players pre-game and post-game. They'll kind of, you know, a lot of them travel with the team, so they will get a chance to just sort of monitor their, what's interesting is, how players react to failure. Some people deal better with failure than others, but those therapists are there. They don't press, and again, that's really important because players, I'm sure you've heard this before, but baseball is an incredibly mental game. It's a very mental game, and you certainly don't want to press a player even if they're not doing well. You want to be there for them if they have questions or if they need something. It's also, it's very superstitious too. I'm not even going to go into all the superstitions that players have, and I will, the change or the not changing of the socks and other stuff, I'm not going to get into that, but players are very superstitious, but that also goes to the mental psyche, and how we see the game and how we see our performance. And I've seen it before where players, are able to get out of a slump, but sometimes they need help. And not just on the diamond, but in their personal lives. Because if you remember, if you think about it, players are away from their families for 2-3 weeks at a time. We just left for LA yesterday. We'll play the Dodgers tomorrow night in LA, and then we'll be on the road for the next 12 days. So they won't see their families for 12 days. So if they're living with failure, if they're not doing well, they also don't get to see their wives or their kids. And so that also plays a heavy part in their performance.
I shouldn't say this, but I'm a Dodger fan. I know. Can you discuss some of the different departments and jobs that exist in professional sports in case some of the students may be interested in pursuing different career paths?
Well, like I said, we have 450 employees that work for the Rangers. We have a bunch of employees that work in the Dominican Republic. We have a lot of folks that work in Surprise, Arizona, at our spring training facility. A majority of our employees work at Globe Life Field, like myself. But there's again, I've been working with graphic artists for the last 3 years on this project. I've been working with our legal department. We need attorneys. We need people that understand marketing. If you look at our social media, you're just going to see this color for the next few days. So our marketing team has a strategy on promoting our new jersey. And we'll probably be flooding our social media with this until our first game that we play when we're back at home. We'll wear these jerseys on Fridays, just for your information. But there's so many different jobs across Major League Baseball, and that's the beauty of the game, is that we have people that work for our ball club that don't understand the game. Because they're very good at their industry, whether it's human resources or sponsorships, business partnerships. From people selling tickets to people creating our logo to people making sure that their experience working for our ball club is a positive one. Human resources. So there's just so many great opportunities. And like I said, I joined the ball club when I was 44, and I didn't know that there were these opportunities. I didn't. So my point being is, you might work in a field that you may not even start until your 30s or your 40s, or your 50s. And that's the beauty of, the future.
All right, Ray, you mentioned you were 51. I'll just let you know you're still a kid, so you're good,
Thank you.
What's the biggest challenge in your job, your particular role, that you could tell us that we don't understand that you have to do?
Well, I think working in community relations, it's fun because you work with nonprofits and public institutions like TCC and universities, and it's great. I think because we are a professional sports team, that everyone thinks that we have bags of money and we can just give to different organizations, and we do have money, but we don't have an endless supply of money, because that money has to go to paying our players, right? And if we're going to have a winning team, we need to employ really good players. So that's important. But I guess the point of this is, what I've learned is that we can't be everything to everybody. When you're a sports team, you can help organizations, but sometimes you have to say no, which is not fun. I don't like that. But there's always ways to be creative and help organizations. Obviously, coming tonight is super fun. I love getting to talk to young people about their future. Even if you don't want to work in baseball, even if you don't want to work in sports, my story is really following opportunities and trusting yourself, trusting your gut, and being courageous. I think that's important. Be courageous. When I was younger, I would tell people that everyone should leave their zip code at some point in their life, because I think sometimes we become fixated on where we grow up, and there's nothing wrong with staying home. There's nothing wrong with being true to the community that helped raise you, but I think learning different perspectives make you a successful person, because you become more open to different ideas. I believe in pluralism. I believe in the idea of having several ideas to solve problems. And I'm thankful that I left Texas, because ultimately it brought me back here. I think that that's something that I've learned, along the way.
What skills or knowledge do you use, almost daily in your job that surprised you didn't know you was going to have to use? Is there anything in particular?
No.
We'll go to the next one. What role does data or technology play in your current work, and what decisions in your job do you have to make using it?
Well, I think part of, from a data perspective, we live and die by numbers. I mean, from a business perspective, we have a business analytics team that will tell our front office, how many hot dogs we're selling in a week. It'll tell us, how many people are coming for our free bobbleheads. And we can measure those things. And those things help us tell us if, a bobblehead on one night is going to be more exciting than a bobblehead on another night. It really comes down to numbers, especially for a sports team, because we're trying to sell out Globe Life Field every night. And there are going to be some nights where we draw 15,000, and there are going to be some nights where we draw 40,000. But a lot of that is being able to forecast how many people are walking through our turnstiles, what they're buying, making sure we have plenty of whatever they're buying, and also, is something like this color going to be popular? Because some people, all you have to do is go on social media, and you're going to hear people that love it, and you're going to hear people that hate it. And it's just the nature of the beast. So numbers tell us a lot, and that drives us with a lot of the decisions that we make.
Okay, so as you know, this is a kinesiology-hosted event, and we fall under the STEM division. So most in the crowd tonight are in that division or interested in that field. So just tying this back to that, what are some ways that you use kinesiology or STEM skills, you or your colleagues?
It's certainly my colleagues that use the STEM skills more than me, and understanding kinesiology, and obviously it's a field that you have to be passionate about, and I think that there's so many great opportunities learning or having the knowledge of kinesiology. You know, I mentioned before our dietitians that we have employed. We have trainers. We have folks that work in PT. You know, on the sports psychology side, we're always looking for people that are willing to go into that field. And you know, the whole science of baseball is really important to us. We have a youth academy. I don't know if you all know this, but we have the Texas Rangers Baseball Youth Academy in West Dallas, and it's free. I hate using the word free. It's no cost to parents that have children ages 8 to 18, and they learn about STEM in baseball. And you know, parents just have to get their kids to Dallas. It's my next dream is to build an academy here in Fort Worth. That's my kid dream, you know, to do that. I do think it'll happen. We have our owners have approved us doing that. It's just about finding the funding, you know, because that's small little hiccup there. But teaching STEM to our youth is really important. So there's so many great opportunities, and just like the ones that I mentioned, that we employ those folks.
That's great. I hope you do bring it to Fort Worth. That'd be great. So you seem like such a valuable community mentor. We're curious as to who were some of your mentors and ones that influenced your journey, and how students can find mentors too. It seems kind of difficult these days.
Yeah, I mean, sort of I mentioned LinkedIn. How many of y'all have a LinkedIn? Raise your hand. LinkedIn is a great platform for professional growth because you meet other people in your field. And I met one of my mentors on LinkedIn just through sort of the similar work that we were doing. And he sort of, you know, he worked, he was president and general manager of the Phoenix Coyotes. That's a hockey team. And his name's Javier. And Javier reached out and he said, hey, you know, you're doing great work. If you want to do like a check-in, you know, once a month, we can do that. And I thought he wanted me to mentor him. But no, he wanted to mentor me. That's a joke, by the way. But yeah, then we just started having conversations. We'd get on Zoom, and I would tell him some of the things that I'm working on, and he would tell me, you know, he would give me some advice, some advice that I would ask for and some that I wouldn't. But that's what mentors do, you know. So you know, having a mentor, or I actually have had 2 mentors, but those people are very important because they will check you on things that maybe decisions that you make that may not be good, or decisions that they support, but they're there for you, and they're there to offer their experience and their advice. So I think having a mentor is incredibly important, but like you mentioned, I mean, there's challenges there because, you know, there's only so many hours in the day, and there's only so many hours that we can offer up to folks. So I'm always cautious in telling people, don't put all your trust in one person. You know, have a few people in your corner that are going to be there to support you. So I think that's important.
Ray, you've worked in so many different fields and been. What would you tell the students in here that feel unsure about what field to go into?
Yeah, you'll figure it out. I mean, I'll tell you that there's no moment that's going to tell you exactly when it's going to hit. I think that you're smarter than you give yourself credit for, and listen to your gut. We have that feeling down there for a reason. It's not because we're hungry. It's not because we're suffering from indigestion. There's a feeling that we develop inside ourselves, and we need to learn how to trust it. And don't, and I know, I'm sure all of you have heard this before, and I apologize if this is annoying, but you're gonna fail. You're gonna screw up. You're gonna make bad decisions, and you just have to learn how to accept it and move on. And I using the whole baseball analogy again, you know, if you've been following the Rangers, you know, Corey Seager hasn't been playing that well lately. You know, he's had some really bad games, but he's one of the best hitters in all of baseball. He doesn't worry about going 0 for 4. He doesn't let that get to him. He goes out there again, and then he hits 3 for 4. You know, so point being is, give yourself some grace, allow yourself to fail, and then just do it again. And try things that are outside your comfort zone. I grew up never wanting to live in New York City. If you'd asked me in college, like, do you want to live in New York? I'm like, heck no, it's dirty, it's disgusting. It's, you know, it's a bunch of Yankees, no pun intended. But the job that I was offered at MTV was, I couldn't do it in Fort Worth. I had to move to New York. And I ended up loving it. But point being is, if I didn't trust myself, if I didn't give myself credit for having the courage to leave, then I would have never been successful in television, you know. So I just, you know, listen to your gut and take a chance and leave for a little bit. Go somewhere else. And then bring your talents back if you want to come back. But I truly believe this is a really big world that we live in. There's so many opportunities out there. And I am not the smartest guy in the room. I just took the opportunities that were given to me. You know, I didn't go to Harvard. You know, I didn't go to an Ivy League school. I went to a school in Arlington. And I was able, when the opportunities arose, I said, you know what? I'm not going to die. If I move to New York, if I move to DC, I'm going to be okay. And then that opportunity led to another opportunity. And that opportunity led to another opportunity. And that's how it happened.
With all this experience, if you had to do over again, though, is there one thing that you would do different or change?
There's not one thing I would do differently or change. I mean, I mentioned second guessing yourself. I second guess myself many times, and I still second guess myself. You know, I woke up this morning wondering if people are going to buy our jersey. I mean, you know, after 3 years of putting this design and jersey together, I couldn't sleep last night. You know, my biggest worry was if people were going to come out and buy our jersey. And I know that this is going to be the highest selling jersey we have. I can tell you that right now, without a doubt. We're gonna sell this jersey out. We're gonna be on back order, and that's just being realistic. But when we second guess ourselves, we're our worst critics. We are our worst critics. We are a bigger detriment to ourselves than our enemy is. Because we allow the people that don't believe in us to get inside. And we're the only ones that can have the confidence to say, you know what? I don't care what this person says. I know I can do it. So I wouldn't change a thing.
What habits or mindset have helped you succeed over time? What habits or mindset has helped you succeed over time?
I read a lot. I try to learn things even when I have no idea what the subject matter is. I just start reading, and I see if I keep reading, and then I keep reading after that. And so I think reading is really helpful. I think it's a lost art. I think there are a lot of people that just, I think people like to read the headline, right? And then we come up with our own ideology based on a quick headline. But we don't, a lot of people just don't take the time to read. So I think reading is really important. Try new things. I think that there are a lot of people that sort of get stuck. We get stuck, I get stuck in the things that I eat and the things that I watch. I try to do new things. I try to watch new things. I try to see new things. Traveling is important to me. I'm going to Alaska for the first time in November. I went to Yellowstone last November. I had always wanted to see Big Sky, Montana, and Wyoming. I did that. That was super fun. Just, go places where you can develop new perspectives. I think that is certainly helpful in your professional and personal life.
If you could give your younger self one piece of advice, what would it be?
Everything's going to be okay. Everything's going to be okay. I think that a lot of times when you're younger, even those of you that are in school right now, we become prisoners of the moment, where that moment is, it feels like it's an eternity, but it's 30 minutes. And those 30 minutes go by, and life's okay again. But I think that I would just tell my younger self that was very confused on what I was going to do and where I was going to go and who I was going to be with, that it's all going to be okay.
So I think that concludes the questions we have for you up here. I really appreciate your insights, because I think there's a lot of lessons that go beyond the realm of sports that are important for students to know going in. It's funny because when we end up the end of the semester, I force my students to listen to some of these same things against their will, and it's funny. There are certain life lessons that transcend and have transcended time, and a lot of them were spoken here today, and I really appreciate you substantiating a lot of that. It's important that they hear it. So, are we going to conclude?
So
okay.
There's a couple microphones that are available, and since we have had the honor of asking Ray these questions, now it's all your turn. If you have any questions, now's your chance. Just raise your hand.
That's a good question. It's a good question.
Hey, I'd like to ask a question for all of us. Do you have Corey Seeger's phone number, and could you put it on the screen?
Corey would not be very happy with me if I did that. His wife would not be very happy with him.
You said that there was a story behind all of the jerseys.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about the story behind the one that you're wearing?
Yeah, sure. Let me start with our first City Connect jersey. Our first City Connect jersey that came out actually the year that we won the World Series. That was a culmination of baseball in Dallas and Fort Worth. And let me tell you something. If you didn't think those two cities didn't like each other, when we were putting together the design of that was, we knew we were going to be in for it when the jersey came out, because the influence of the color design of, for those of you that are from Fort Worth, the Fort Worth Cats, you guys remember the Fort Worth Cats? The Dallas Mustangs, they're a culmination of teams from the Metroplex way back, even before I was born, that existed, that we were trying to tell a story with that City Connect jersey of the rich history in baseball between those cities and the Metroplex. And I did not work on that City Connect design. So from the outside looking in, even though I worked for the Rangers, it was very interesting to see the internal and external politics of the story we told. Because again, there were people that loved it. They thought, oh my God, a cream-colored jersey. We've got the Peagle, which was our secondary mascot on the jersey. You could see the history behind the old jerseys between the Fort Worth Cats and the Dallas Mustangs and other teams that we had. So telling that story was really cool, especially for those that were from the Metroplex. And again, some people loved it, some people didn't. And that's the nature of the beast. Now, the one that I'm wearing right now is sort of an homage to Hispanics and their role that they played in Major League Baseball in the Metroplex. For those of you that don't know, there were Mexican League baseball that happened here in Fort Worth back in the 70s and the 80s. And I'm not going to go into the full story of it because I want you all to read it, and you'll see it in social media how it's explained, because you guys would be cheating if I told you the whole story. But there's a rich history behind this color scheme. It's funny when fans would ask if we were going to bring the color red back. For those of you that are Rangers fans, obviously we had a red jersey. This is not that Ranger red color. And we knew that there were going to be fans that were going to voice their displeasure because it wasn't the Ranger red of the 90s and 2000s. But everything that we've done with all of our jerseys has a point and a story to tell. And that's the beauty of baseball, is that baseball is so rich in stories that we love telling them. And that it's our responsibility to share with our fans that baseball is not a monolithic story. There are many different stories that we're going to tell. Every 3 years, Nike allows each team to come out with a City Connect jersey. This is obviously our second one, and we will produce more City Connect jerseys. I hope to God I'm not on the next one that I'm working on. This took years off my life. But it's exciting because we're going to continue to tell more stories, and we hope our fans are going to like it. But we know that some fans are going to like it and some aren't, and that's, you just can't please everybody. Yes?
Professionally or personally, do you have a motto or creed that you live by, or something that you took with you through your tough times in order to help you get through those tough times?
I've always needed help when I've had to go through tough times, whether it's professionally or personally. One of the programs that I started was a mental health program for the Rangers called Power of Us, and it was really dedicated to youth, but also our employees are using it. But I truly believe the power of us can help us get through things. I don't believe that people individually get through tough times by themselves. And if they do, I'd like to know what they're taking. But we all have people in our lives that we trust. May not be the people that we work with, it may not be some family members, but there's always somebody in our family or our friends that we trust. And I've relied on those people, personally and professionally, and we all need help. And I think it's asking for help is the toughest thing.
All right, if you guys don't have any more questions, then I have a favor to ask you. This is a QR code. Now, I told you all to scan the QR codes to sign up for Earth Day, and I noticed a lot of you didn't do it, but I'm begging you to use this QR code. It is an engagement survey. It is a way that you can communicate to the administration here at TCC about what you like, what you don't like about this event, and in general. So please, take your phones out, scan the QR code. There should be on the drop-down menu, this event is listed, and then you can answer a few short questions. We would really appreciate it. It's important for you to communicate and help us continue to make TCC a wonderful place. So as you are doing that, I want to add my thanks. Yeah.
To everybody that is here, I know that you all could have easily gone home and rested. I appreciate all of you all being here. For those of you that are wearing Rangers gear, I sincerely appreciate you all for doing that. That makes me happy, just as a fan, because I'm a fan. I'm a fan of the ball club. I've always been a fan. I went to my first game in 1980. I was 6 years old. and I fell in love with the guys since then. So I truly appreciate all of y'all's support. And I just appreciate if you guys are a lover of baseball. You know, you don't have to be a Rangers fan. It's a great game. And, you know, we're lucky to be able to, you know, live in an environment where, you know, there's great baseball around us, and we're thankful for y'all. So thank you for having me. Yeah.
And even though you didn't bring us jerseys, we do have a gift for you. We want to say thank you. So we gave you a little TCC stuff, so enjoy that. For the rest of you, please stick around. Don't feel like you have to rush off. I'm assuming Ray will stay a few more minutes. If you were just too shy to ask a question, come up and ask him, or maybe some of our kinesiology faculty, come talk to them. There's other STEM faculty around the room. They would love to talk to you. And don't forget the universities and our library and QEP and kinesiology, they all have tables out there. So stop by the tables, see what opportunities you can take advantage of. And it looks like there's even a little pizza left. So if you'd like to take a piece for the road, go grab that. Thanks again for coming.